Hello and welcome to another watercolor tutorial. In this video, I'm going to show you how I painted this loose and atmospheric beach scene watercolor painting, and I really hope you enjoy watching this tutorial. I'm using a piece of Arch 140 pounds rough surface watercolor paper for this piece, and my board is at a slight angle so the colors would run down the paper. I'm starting by randomly wetting the top section of the paper using my size 12 round brush, and the first color that I'm applying here is a very watered down version of alizarin crimson. You can use any other red or pink that you have available. And the next color is a mixture of cerulean blue chromium and a touch of French ultramarine blue. For the bottom part of the sky that meets the horizon line, I added more water to the mixture so that it's much lighter in tonal value compared to the top section of the sky. You can see some dry patches in between. That's the result of randomly wetting the top section of the paper instead of thoroughly wetting it, so that we have the combination of some hard edges and some softer edges. I also darkened the top part of the sky a little bit more by adding a thicker mixture of French ultramarine blue. To paint the water, I'm using a mixture of aqua green and French ultramarine blue, and I'm painting the water wet on dry, so the paper is dry and my brush is wet. Also, for the section of the water that is closer to us and is closer to the sand and beach, I added a touch of viridian green to have a slightly different color, so it's not just one color for the water. I'm also using a very watered down version of alizarin crimson and lavender to paint the shadow parts of the waves. The color that I mixed to paint the beach is a mixture of burnt umber and raw sienna. It's very watered down, so it's even going to be much lighter when it's dry. I also added a few touches of alizarin crimson to add some more interest to the painting. To paint the beach umbrella, I'm using light red, and I'm trying to keep the right hand side of the umbrella much lighter compared to the left hand side. So to do that, I'm adding more water to the paint to have a lighter value, and thicker paint and darker paint for the left hand side of it. I'm also going to be painting another layer on top of it once the first layer is completely dry. So this would be sufficient for the first layer of the beach umbrella. While that's drying, I'm painting some rocks and grasses in the foreground. For the shadow parts of the rocks, which is on the left hand side, I mixed a mixture of brown and French ultramarine blue to make the color more grayish. And for the right hand side of it, I'm using watered down burnt umber. If you have difficulties painting rocks and you just get confused looking at all those details and all those lines and marks that they have on them, just think of them as cars. Just imagine you are painting very loosely a shape of a car. That makes it so much easier to simplify painting rocks. I also painted the first and the lightest layer of the grasses using the same mixture, so primary yellow and a touch of French ultramarine blue, and I made sure that I added enough water to make that color super light for the sunlit part of the grasses in the foreground. I also painted some mountains in the far distance using a mixture of burnt sienna and French ultramarine blue, and I also added some water to the mixture to make it light enough so that it sits back in the distance. I'm also painting another layer on top of the rocks. I want to have more contrast for the shadow parts of the rocks, so I mixed a darker, thicker version of burnt umber and French ultramarine blue, which would be very similar to black and dark gray color. and I painted that on the shadow parts of the rocks. I also painted a middle value color for the grasses, the same color, just less water in it, so it looks darker. And I also painted a thicker layer of light red on the left hand side of the beach umbrella. Now to paint some figures, I'm just simply making some small marks, and your eyes would read them as people. So we don't want to put too much detail on them because they're really far away from us and we naturally are not able to see any detail. Just as long as there are in a general form and shape of people, that would be sufficient enough for a loose and atmospheric style of painting. I also painted some birds in the distance using the same logic, so just simple marks, especially the ones that are really far away, just a tiny dot would read as birds. And at the end, I'm just adding some shadow color, the same sand color that we mixed, but this time a little bit darker, so less water in it. And also to finish up the painting, just some really dark shadow color for the grasses in the foreground. Try to keep those marks as random and abstract as possible. Try not to get too rigid when you making those lines for the grasses, and they look much more beautiful than being worried about painting them perfectly. And this is the finished painting. I really hoped you enjoyed watching this tutorial. Don't forget to ask me any questions in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy painting!